I was dealing with some rather severe OCD, and I was actually 11 years old. Every single day, I wasn't really able to talk to people. I wasn't able to experience reality in a way that was anything past kind of constant pain. Our brains are built to handle a single tiger trying to eat us, but they're seeing our emails, each as individual tigers trying to eat us.
Welcome to the Rock Bottom Podcast, presented by Jigsaw Health, where we share health horror stories that inspire. Today's guest is Jon Hacker. Jon struggled with OCD and mental health challenges rooted in a stressful childhood and years of bullying. His journey back to health began when he started researching nervous system therapies, eventually leading him to create Zen Bud and help others regulate stress and improve mental wellness.
Before we dive in, just another quick reminder that this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice. So please always consult a healthcare professional before making any changes to your health routine.
This is the Rock Bottom Podcast.
Jon Hacker, welcome to the Rock Bottom Podcast. It's so good to have you here today. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
We are doing very, very good.
I'm super excited for you to dive into your story. I've been learning so much more about, spoiler alert, the vagus nerve. But first, take us back to the rock bottom that you recall that we're going to be kind of talking about today. I know some people have a lot of rock bottom stories. And then we can talk about what kind of led you to that moment and then what got you to where you are today.
Okay. I mean, so I think probably the rock bottom that I experienced was back when I was, and there's a number, we can go through a couple of them, depending on what you guys want to do there, but I like to bring it back to when I was actually 11 years old. So when I was quite a bit younger than I am today. At that time, I was dealing with some rather severe OCD. So every single day, I wasn't really able to talk to people. I wasn't able to experience reality in a way that was anything past kind of constant pain, at least mentally speaking. And, there's this experience that when you can't control, or rather it feels like you're out of control or out of agency in your own life, it's a hell of an experience to have, right? And especially when I was just that young, it was really hard to grasp on why. It's really hard to grasp on how to fix it, if at all. And what happened is I essentially got obsessed with the nervous system, which was also a presentation of some of the symptoms of that in its own way. And that was one of my rock bottoms. It's not my only one, but that's the one that got me started on this journey.
Well, let me ask you a little bit about that. So you were 11, struggling with OCD, and I think of, people that, they have to close the door handle 6 times or whatever. What were some of your sort of, I believe they're called tics. Is
opening and closing doors was actually a big one for me. So ironically enough, usually it was 2-3 times for me. Usually exactly 3 times, if I'm being frank.
Hold on. That's funny.
Usually
it was about this many. Yeah, it was exactly 3 times.
When did these behaviors start to develop? They came to a peak at 11.
So I think part of it was entering puberty had an impact there. And there's some scientific debate on a lot of what causes actually a lot of mental health disorders, but especially when it comes to OCD, it seems to be brought on by a combination of high stress factors. Mm-hmm. And there was a number of things going on in my life at that time that were putting me in a place where we'll call it high cortisol place.
Yeah.
Right. And OCD is essentially the presentation of a compensation mechanism with some sort of other stress load or other stressors and anxiety loads. And that's why these things develop in the first place. At least, again, this is from my understanding. I am biomedical engineering by background. I'm not neuropsychology, but my understanding of how these symptoms usually present and what the base physiology is, usually you have some sort of stressor. In my case, there were some things happening in my family life at that age that were adding a lot of mental stress. And this was a compensation mechanism for that, for better or worse.
Do you mind talking about what that was? I think it helps our audience.
I don't mind talking a little bit about that. So my father struggled with alcohol when we were younger, and that caused most of the stress. And at the same time, we had some financial difficulties as I was growing up as well. And that continued for a while. Eventually my family worked their way out of it. right? But it is, when you're that young, you don't really know how to interpret a lot of that stuff. And a lot of the small things make a pretty massive impact.
Yeah.
I was also being bullied at that age, which was also a lovely combination. And I think all of that stress combined was really what led to that. That's my hypothesis. I mean, in the end, it's really hard to say when it comes to mental health in general, because it's a syndrome, right? It's a collection of symptoms. We don't really know mechanisms.
Yeah, it's not a straight line. And when you're 11 and you have probably some subconscious stress trickling down from your parents, and the financial stress that they were under, and you just have like no control over any of it. So maybe that OCD, that's where that came in. You're like, it's like some sort of weird control thing of like, I can open and close this door however many times I want, and like you were just subconsciously like doing it because you could or something. Who really knows? Like you said. But do you recall like waking up one day and like, I don't know why, but I need to open and close this door a bunch of times, or did it slowly kind of come on?
So I can point to a couple of times where some of my tics originated from. Some of those persistent symptoms. With the door thing, it's hard for me to remember exactly. There's some others where I remember the moment where I started doing them, but it's really a case by case. And like, I think once I started with one, I won't call it a habit, but one habitual action, others piled on top of that.
What did your parents, how did they react?
So I hid this a lot of my childhood. And I don't know if it was, it's hard to say for certain how much they knew, if anything, because I got really good at hiding it. Because I don't like feeling out of control in general, which might be one of the root causes of that in the first place. And I didn't like my parents knowing that too back then.
So you hid this, you were 11 years old. When would you say you started to get help? Like what happened next?
So I just dove really deep into, like, legitimately, I got really obsessed with the nervous system and dove really deep there as a compensation mechanism. Because when I was really working hard, when I was really exhausting my brain, it didn't have time to stress about things that I didn't have to be as concerned with some of these. Like, and that was my relief, was diving deep, deep, deep into this over time. And it was right around when I was actually 18, 19. So actually further into the later, like around 7-8 years, that I started to improve. And that was around the same time that I actually told my brother, my twin brother, about this, which before that I had also kept it hidden from him. And so when we started talking, that gave me the opportunity to, like, I think being open about that and talking with him about that allowed me to start improving. And I noticed some significant improvements early years through college. And eventually I was able to get myself out of a lot of those deep symptomatic loads.
So it's interesting that you bring up you had a twin brother, because one of the notes I wrote down like 2 minutes ago is I was curious if you had any siblings and where your birth order is.
No, we were born, technically my brother was born a minute before me. Because one of us was going to die if we went through a natural birth because of, like, umbilical cord was going to strangle one of us. I forget who it was. It might have been him, might have been me, but I know that my brother ended up getting a cesarean section. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And is it he's your only sibling?
Yes, it's just the two of us.
Okay.
So when you revealed this to him, did he seem super surprised, or was he like, oh, that actually makes a lot more sense?
Oh, yeah. No, he was. I got really good at hiding this. I mean, like, and I mean, realistically, I think that's the case for a lot of the period when I grew up, right? Like, mental health was still, like, and there's a lot of, like, effort now about, oh, you need to be open about your mental health, or, oh, it's your superpower, et cetera, et cetera. At the very least, in the environment that I was growing up, and it seemed like that sort of thing was something that would limit you massively in your future careers, in your life, and whatever you wanted to do. Having these sort of disorders or dealing with these sort of symptoms was going to limit how far you could go. And so hiding it was the logical thing to do at that time, to not limit how far I could go eventually and to not harm those around me. And so that was something that I basically did from the start, at least when it came to those symptoms.
So then when did you put two and two together that, oh, this is probably the nervous system. I need to start digging into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was also decently early on, mostly because I got really, really obsessed with the concept of escaping through virtual reality, actually. That's where all this started when it came to my focus today. And I got really obsessed with how to do that with your nervous system directly. So how to sensory substitution was where a lot of my research started. And that was an interesting journey, to say the least. And I realized pretty quickly that there's a lot of research and work that's been done on reading the nervous system and understanding the system, and that was progressing quite nicely. It still is. But with directly, non-invasively, and precisely interacting with the nervous system, the work that's been done has been, to that point in time, was very premature.
Okay, so now you're 18, 19. You feel like you've unlocked a few things after doing the research. And what were some of the practices that you were using to help your nervous system that started to improve your symptoms?
Good question.
So for me, it was, again, exposing myself to triggers for these tics. For example, opening a door and then not going through with the repetitive action. That was the key when it came to my personal symptoms for my OCD. That's what helped me a lot. And putting myself in scenarios like even this here, like this is one of those things that would have triggered it for me. Actually,
being on
social
the
context
podcast
was very social context in general.
Okay,
which made like existing a living hell for a very long time. But social context in general was something that I ended up getting very stressed about. And so exposing myself on that end over and over and over again, and taking a moment when I was going to do repetitive action and then just centering and staying there as opposed to actually doing something allowed me to recover in a pretty big way.
So in those moments where you're sitting there and just basically being quiet, you're just like trying to calm your mind and just like be almost like a little meditation moment, right?
Yeah. Breathe in, breathe out, done.
Focus on your breath instead of your thoughts and just like give yourself a minute.
Ironically enough is highly related to your vagus nerve, which is what we ended up doing. But, fate is a irony maximizer for better or worse.
That's a good
Let's
saying.
say that one again.
Fate is an irony maximizer for better or worse.
Oh, man, that's good. Fate is an irony maximizer.
Yeah,
Everybody, bottom feeders, let's all take a deep breath in and a deep breath out and realize that fate is an irony maximizer. It likes to put us in situations that make us say, isn't that ironic?
Yes. It's the lessons we learn.
That's great. That's a great insight. So John, in your, I guess maybe this is a good sort of, yes, thank you, Ashley.
Segue.
How do I get there? It's like
We
riding on
finish
a
each
divine
other's-
sandwiches.
Yes.
So how do we, sentences is I think what she meant, but sometimes I finish her sandwich too.
Always.
Don't make me explain my jokes. So when did you sort of discover the vagus nerve, and maybe talk about that as it relates to your research? And everyone, we're leading to a product that Jon has created, an interesting product called Zen Bud. But maybe talk about, which he's wearing right now, ironically. Talk about the vagus nerve, please.
Oh, of course. So in my history, we actually started doing a lot of research on the brain first and how to interact with that non-invasively. But we found that was actually very decently low efficacy and high risk, which is the opposite of where you really want to be. And so we took a look at targets that could help.
Let me jump in real quick. You're saying that when trying to interface with the brain, you're like, whoa, we could really screw some stuff up here and we might not get it right. That's effectively what you're saying.
Yes, essentially. So brain stuff has incredibly high potential. But it's so complex and we understand so little of it that directly interfacing with it can be risky when it comes to the brain.
Yeah.
That's why we didn't do that. We looked at what systems in your body we could interact with that would be a lot lower risk, so stuff that we could get right a lot easier and have a much bigger impact on your daily life. And the vagus nerve is one of those systems that can do that. Actually, and it is, just for quick biology lesson, you can almost consider your vagus nerves like an off switch for your stress system. Realistically, scientifically terms, it's your steady state system, otherwise known as your parasympathetic system. It's the system that is basically supposed to be on most of the time. And on the counter side of that, you have something called your sympathetic or fight or flight state. You're supposed to be there small periods of time. The tiger's trying to eat you. You need to be in sympathetic to survive. But you're not supposed to remain there. And something that I've seen a lot recently, and I've done a number of talks where the first thing I'll do when I go on stage is say, hey, who here is dealing actively with chronic stress or has dealt with chronic stress?
A lot of
or
hands
has
go
a
up.
loved one dealing with chronic stress. It's almost always everyone on this raises their hands in the audience. This is a massive problem.
Yeah.
And this is because of overactive sympathetic states. And that was, at least in my experience, what I was also dealing with through a lot of my childhood and early adult years was a sympathetic state that would not go off. And when you're constantly there, just everything starts to be worse.
in fight
It's
or
a
flight.
negative reality filter is what it is.
Negative reality filter.
What do you mean by that? Negative reality filter.
You have the same event happen to two people. One person will say they're chronically in stress state in that always active state, but not even always active, just in a chronic stress state. One person that isn't. You have someone cuts them off in traffic, right? Happens all the time. Someone in chronic stress state is going to see that as a threat. Their system doesn't feel safe. They think that person is actively coming out for them, and they have to do something about it. They're much more prone to road rage. They might go out, they might yell at that person, they might try to do something. They're going to put themselves in a scenario where they don't need to be. Person A is going to see that and it's like, well, okay, maybe they're an ass, whatever,
Yeah.
and go about their day. They're not going to focus on it. They're not going to put extra energy or attention on it. They're not going to worry about it. This sort of thing happens. And so the same experience happened to both people. It's the exact same experience. They both got cut off on traffic. But to one person, it's something that will consume them for the next 2-3 hours of their day. And for the other, it's nothing more than a minor inconvenience. And that's what your nervous system is. It is a filter on how you see reality. In one state, you're going to see reality as much, much worse. And the other, you'll see just a little bit better. Reality is reality either way.
Yeah.
Reality doesn't care. But your nervous system does, and you do. It's up to you how to interpret it.
I like that. Reality doesn't care. Okay, so keep going. And for those who may not be familiar with the vagus nerve, it's not VEGAS, it's VAGAS. Has nothing to do with the city of Las Vegas, although there's probably some related things to dopamine and gambling and addiction and stuff like that. But keep running with the vagus nerve here.
The vagus nerve is the sort of vagus that doesn't go away once you leave the city.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. You can essentially, again, it is the nerve and it's the pathway that's responsible for keeping your body running and functional on a daily basis. I like to call it responsible for the recovery response. That seems to click well with people. Realistically, it's the thing that's supposed to be on all of the time in modulating all of your daily responses except for very short windows. So it's a lot more critically important than just recovery. It is your alive response. But for a lot of people, it is chronically underactive in comparison to your stress response or the
Why is
sympathetic
that?
response. Well, it's because our brains aren't built for the sort of inputs that we're getting right now. Our brains are built to handle a single tiger trying to eat us, but they're seeing our emails each as individual tigers trying to eat us.
Yeah.
It's seeing our phone text ringing as a tiger trying to eat us. It's seeing exiting a building as a tiger trying to eat you. And so when your brain is tuned in that way, when it gets tuned that way over time, it starts to see everything as tigers. And that is a massive problem. And again, hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, this was a very different environment that we were living in. And our bodies and brains are still adapted for that environment. This is the reason why obesity is such a big problem. This is the reason why chronic stress is such a big problem. We are not well adapted yet to the environment that we now live in. And so all vagus nerve stimulation is, realistically, is an attempt to adapt you to the environments that you're being forced to live in. If you can afford to go out and not live in this societal environment, that might be a better option. But for a lot of people, they can't. And so you have to deal with the cards you're dealt.
So what are some natural ways to stimulate the vagus nerve, if there are any?
So there are I would say meditation is a great method to get parasympathetic engagement. Please do that. And if it's something that you can do in your day-to-day, please do.
Yeah.
Breathing exercises are oftentimes cited as a great way to get parasympathetic engagement. And there is humming exercises that can do good as well.
Yeah, I've heard about that for the vagus nerve.
Yeah. Yep. They're all centered. I call them parasympathetic exercises because there is a misnomer that direct vagus nerve stimulation is very different from doing these exercises. These exercises are great. They can help train that system over time, but you're not getting direct vagal innervation. It's a different thing. It could be good, it could be complementary, but scientifically speaking, it's not the same thing. And that's important because especially a lot of the time, people will do these exercises, they will do the meditation, and they'll still deal with the chronic stress. And that's because we are living in a system that is not well tuned for our nervous systems whatsoever. In fact, it's very poorly tuned, and it poorly tunes our nervous systems. And that's where something that can do direct modulation and a direct input can be very useful.
Yeah, because I guess doing the exercise, like you put it, is helpful and can provide some relief, but also it's like maybe no match for our environment. And
it's like trying to use a spoon to drain an ocean. If you do it long enough, you can. I'm not trying to minimize the sort of impact these exercises can have, but there's so many stressors out there in our daily lives. Yeah. And that's part of the reason why we've been building this product in particular, and the Zen Bud product, which I am wearing right now, is to provide people a little bit of a larger spoon. Do your humming, do your breathing exercises, do it with it. That's what I would suggest.
Okay, so tell me more about the Zen Bud.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
For those that are just listening, by the way, real quick, John is wearing headphones. They're like over-the-ear headphones. I had the chance to try it on when you visited us at Firefly maybe 2 months ago or so. And there's these little kind of nodules, I don't know if that's the right thing, but that kind of touch into the inner of the ear canal. And so he turned on some music and I listened and I was like, okay, it's headphones. Okay, this is interesting. And I please take over from here. I just wanted to help the people at home who are not on video and are listening. So take it away, John.
Yeah, and by the way, that was only like a 15 seconds.
Yeah, it was like 30 seconds. And he turned on heavy metal, which I was like, is this the right meditation music? And
wrong station.
Wrong station.
You don't have to meditate. That's like one of the big things that we're trying to build out here is something that fits into people's routines as it is today.
Yeah.
The people that are meditating will meditate regardless. And a lot of times they're already doing a lot of the work that needs to be done for their nervous system. This can be a great complement, but this is really for people that if you can't get into that routine, or if you're having a lot of trouble, or if you're in a really negative place where you just can't get out of it, this is where it can be a lot more useful. Now, and I'll also address something here. You can play music. You can use these like headphones, but they're actually not classical headphones in a sense.
Right.
And I can't hear you while I have this off. So my apologies. If you say something, this is the time to like say I'm a terrible person or whatever. Like this is your chance. These little blue buds right here we call them buds. What this is actually doing, this is directly emitting ultrasound into this region of the ear, which is the Simba-concha region. And that's what's innervated by your vagus nerve. And that region, especially stimulating there, can be incredibly effective for vagus nerve stem. So what this is doing essentially is it's helping support your nervous system while you listen to whatever music you want or do whatever you want. That could be heavy metal. For some people it is.
So it's
I don't judge. I like to listen to this personally, but it's up to folks and what they want to do. Or do a podcast,
Yeah. So it's not the headphones themselves. It's really the little bud and the pressure that bud puts into the ear.
Not the pressure. We're actually directly generating and emitting ultrasound through there.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is very, very, it's like the same sort of ultrasound you do for fetal Doppler, like when someone's pregnant and you're looking at the baby, except we pulse it in a way that can directly activate the nerves in that region. An alternative to this would be an electrical stimulator, either in the ear or the neck. But we find that a lot of people, when we talk to them, don't want to be directly shocked to help activate their parasympathetic system. And that's part of the reason why we're really passionate about the ultrasound side of this technology.
Go ahead. We're too polite.
Well, I will because I have experience with a device that is like the Hulis device, where essentially it vibrates right on the vagus nerve. You put like a little nodule type
It looks
of thing.
like a tiny iPhone. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
it basically it does, right? It's vibrating. I mean, it's been a while since I used it, and I only used it like twice because it made me nauseous.
Yeah, the cervical region. Okay, cervical. I'm just mean neck here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is the reason why a lot of companies target there is because the implant companies, which is where this field started, targeted there. They targeted the neck branch, but it's very poorly suited for non-invasive stimulation. And the Hulis is an electrical device. Just FYI, so they are shocking you with that usage. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
Like a light TENS unit kind of.
yeah, it's like a light TENS unit.
Yeah.
Like that's where the field has been. But part of the problem is, especially with neck, there's a lot there, and there's a lot in the way, and there's a lot of other things you can do by trying to stimulate there, and that can cause some adverse events. But so can any intervention, just to be clear. Even
So that
doing
doesn't
breathing
make me
exercises
weird
can
that I
cause
got, like,
adverse events of
nauseous
some
from it.
sorts. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
and some
like
people
it
have
can
that
happen to
experience.
anyone.
Yeah, which is when you're stimulating a very large region, because there's a lot in the neck that keeps you alive, things can happen.
And,
So.
and the vagus nerve, just real quick for everybody, it runs from the stomach to the
Yes.
brain, correct?
Well, so vagus means wandering in Latin. There we go. Language
Oh,
lesson.
wow.
You gotta love it. Yep. And so it actually wanders all over the body. And when I talk about steady state, that's because it's actually interacting with a lot of the organs that keep you alive on a daily basis.
Okay.
It's commonly called the gut-brain axis because there's a large amount of afferents and efferents from the gut to the brain. But it's also located in the lovely ear and through the neck. And it coils around a couple different organs of the bodies too, because it really is signaling that you can almost consider it like internal safety, as in there is no threat. So it needs to be able to interact with all the organs, especially the gut. So it's telling you you can digest. If there's no threat, you can spend energy on digesting. If there's a threat, it's just not a concern. If there's something about to kill you in 5 minutes, why do you care about being efficient with your digestion and your food source? You don't. So your brain's going to tell your body to not care about that if it thinks it's about to die, which is what the sympathetic response is it's telling your body that it's go time, it's do or die on a consistent basis. And sometimes it's useful to be in that state, but you just can't always be there.
So, John, what was the insight that you had to basically have Zen Bud stimulate inside the ear cavity?
So this is based off of a existing pool of research. It's not inside the ear cavity. It's in that symbicontia region.
Okay.
There have been transcutaneous vagus nerve stimulators, that's the fancy science name, in the ear for years now. But part of the problem is they've also been electrically oriented, and it's very, especially in the ear, you're very sensitive there. And getting people to shock themselves in the ear is a interesting proposition, at least for larger adoption, right? Like one of the biggest limiters of this technology has not been efficacy, but it has been tolerability. Because to date, it's always been TENS units, either on the ear or on the neck. And those are two very sensitive regions. And we're talking about, like, the people that need to be using this are the people that have been chronically stressed for years or decades even. And to expect someone to go through that sort of pain on top of that is, at least in our opinion, it's a difficult thing to ask.
Yeah.
And that's why we built Zen Bud, and that's why we use ultrasound.
How many hours a day do you wear the Zen Bud?
So I probably wear it more than a lot of folks. The suggestion is 5 minutes a day.
Only
we
5
actually have an
minutes?
automatic timer that turns off after 30 minutes.
Okay.
Because a lot of our users use it to sleep.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. So it's just obviously would be very, very calming. I mean, who doesn't need to try and get out of fight or flight before falling asleep at night?
Yeah. No, it can be very, it's one of the main use cases of the technology. I mean, like, it is, I do want to make clear, it's not going to help everyone with sleep. Like, this isn't like injecting people with Calm either. It's going to help people with sleep that have a problem being in sympathetic state getting to sleep. There are other core issues with sleep as well. But if that's your problem with getting to sleep, if it's a racing mind or heart, then this might be able to help with that for you. And the other piece of this too is we really see this as a training tool. we don't expect you to be using Zen Bud forever. You can if you want. But the goal here is to actually directly improve that system, just like training a muscle in the gym and doing that reps daily for 5 minutes. That's what's critical. Because eventually your reality filter changes. And suddenly you're able to see reality in a way that's a little bit more beneficial to you. Yeah.
Do you use
That's the goal of the company. That's what's best clinically validated too.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Do you use a Oura Ring or a Whoop or something like that?
Yeah, I use Aura.
Yeah.
And
Aura's over here too.
Awesome.
Do you happen to, can you measure the stress markers and sort of see those results? Like if someone were to buy Zen Bud and basically use that as their, okay, it's working. Would that be a way to do it?
Yeah, we get a lot of reports about improving HRV, sometimes quite immediately. There's a lot of, ironically enough, heart rate variability. There's a lot of variability in that particular biomarker set. Because if you're wearing an Aura versus a Whoop or something else, you're actually measuring it differently and using different equations, which can make sense. But HRV is actually, when you talk to one person and you talk to them about HRV and another, there's two different measures. It's just very frustrating from a scientific perspective. But yes, you do see shifts in stress biomarkers. And we actually see some really strong improvements on a consistent basis. Again, I care most about lived experience. But you do see those improvements. We do have studies in and around those, especially more recently. We've been doing more studies with reaction time. We find it'll be a little bit more of a consistent response marker over HRV. HRV is so easy, though, so I understand why people love it. And we do see some really strong improvements in that. So people are able to react faster when they're out of their stress state, ironically enough, by around 20 milliseconds. And that can mean all the difference sometimes.
I want to go back to what you were saying about, effectively we're living, where every email we get is a tiger. And when you said that, it kind of reminded me, Ash, of a conversation that you and I were having maybe, I don't know, a month ago, walking the dogs. And I was thinking about it. I was like, I guess I want to challenge that caveman humans, however many hundreds or thousands of years ago, was their life more peaceful than what we get today? Because I feel like, food and shelter and, disease and bandits and, children dying or getting eaten by tigers. It's like,
one would think it would be more stressful, but realistically what's happening is that those stressors are, if you're dead, you're dead. I hate to say it. If you're starving to death, you're just going to die.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, because we are so much safer, ironically enough, our systems are recalibrating for that level of safety.
Yeah.
Because we guarantee food, because especially in the developed world, we can often consider, and there are terrible exceptions to this, we can often consider ourselves physically safe.
Yeah.
Your system will recalibrate to see things that are less threatening as more threatening because the threats have changed.
Wow.
You're not going to see, and realistically, you can even take a look at this on a consistent basis. If you're dealing with life-threatening changes on a consistent basis, a lot of the lower stressors become non-stressors. And this is a hypothesis, and this is my model to be clear. But if you're introducing someone into a truly life-threatening event, their stress response adjusts to that. That becomes the new level of threat. And they might see that threat everywhere now, especially if their system doesn't feel safe. But that's what's threatening now. An email's no longer threatening. That's what's threatening. So there's an adaptation mechanic going on here. And it's not something that we fully understand, very frankly. But we are seeing some incredibly concerning trends with mental health, especially with our younger generations now. And it seems to be getting worse and worse over time.
Yeah, talk about that.
Happy to. I mean, there's a lot of hypotheses, right? I want to make it clear. Everything, people say so much stuff like it's guaranteed fact. I mean, realistically, we only have guesses on most of this. Some of them are better supported than others. Even our models of reality are just good or bad guesses.
Right. I appreciate you adding that caveat. I think that's very true. In most podcasts, including this one, you should take everything with a grain of salt and realize that every expert is using sort of the best knowledge base and the best sort of articulation that they can make at that time on that knowledge base. It's not this is 100% the facts. In fact, anybody that says that probably run away immediately.
True.
So I appreciate what you're saying in that. And now with those caveats, continue on to your hypothesis of why younger generations that are growing up like with an email address, like parents that create an email address for them when they're born, how is that affecting mental health, do you think?
So I believe that we're in environments now where it is incredibly profitable to get people engaged. And so there's an incentive framework to create engaging content, to create engaging platforms, to create engaging foods, to create engaging, and there's so much desire for attention. And that's an environment that our youngest generations are growing up in from birth. Is an environment where their attention is the most valuable product, and their data taken from that attention is the most valuable product out there. You are on sale, and your kids are on sale too. And when that is the incentive framework, when the incentive is to get your attention and keep your attention for as long as possible, it makes a lot of sense that we're essentially ending up having problems with people, for one thing, with attention disorders, for another, with any sort of dopamine disorders. And to an extent, at least, again, this is based on my understanding of psychology and the brain and how it works, there seems to be this trend where people end up unable to get the same dopamine from the same activities as they once would. And so your brain starts to see that as a concern signal. And that is, from my understanding, the basis of most of the mental health problems we're having right now. In much simpler terms, social media is not great for you. We all know that. We've all known that for a while. Yeah. Having constant engagement's not good for the brain. It's just not something we're used to. And so when we're adapting to that, there's a lot of maladaptions in that too. And that is, in my opinion, the root of a lot of the current mental health problems that we're having.
Bro, I think you nailed it.
I'm curious if the Zen Bud, is that good for kids too then, of any age, or is there...
I will say we have some partners that are doing some research with, actually, it's a number of charter schools out in Florida. It's early. It's a nonprofit. We will see how it goes. Mm-hmm. From a pure science rationale point, it's hard to say that there would be any concern. But I will also say this. Children in general have something in a large abundant supply called neuroplasticity. So another quick science lesson. The younger you are, the more your brain can easily change when responding to stimuli. It's one of the reasons why a lot of these engagement tools are more affecting our younger generations than our older generations. Because if you didn't grow up with them, you were less susceptible to them. Any intervention with children has to be studied a ton more. And we're doing that research now, and we have some good early data, but by no means is this indicated for children yet, to be very clear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because and I would say that from my understanding, a lot of the drugs we're giving our kids have never been properly studied in children either. So that's its own thing, though. That's its own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're going to choose between Ritalin or Zen Buds, I don't know, maybe just give the Zen Buds a little go first.
Yeah, the warning.
Not medical advice. This is not medical advice.
I'm not going to speak on that either way, but I will say it can be difficult holding yourself to a higher state of ethics than multi-billion-dollar companies, but I think it is worth it in the end to do the right thing.
Absolutely worth it in the long run. That I totally agree with you.
I was going to ask, how differently do you feel since using this product? And when did you finish the product? When was it officially done and launched?
Oh yeah.
So we launched the series 1 of the Zen Bud in May of last year.
Okay.
Well, what you see on my head right now is actually the series 2, which is launching end of this month.
Okay.
So next week, basically.
Exciting.
It is. And I'm not going to lie, it has helped with some of my personal symptoms that I've dealt with. And it's definitely helped me deal with a lot of the, again, reality maximizes irony. the process of building this has been one of the most stressful experiences of my life.
Yeah, I bet.
To be honest.
Amen. Yeah.
Yep. So it's kind of great that I now have a tool to help me actively do it. So it's almost like a feedback cycle on that. In a way.
Yeah, exactly.
It helps me de-stress just enough to keep building. But
Keeps you hanging on.
Yeah, no, it's been interesting.
I wanted to ask you, I imagine you have some, like when you were talking earlier about messing with the brain,
Yeah.
it made me think of Neuralink. And I was curious if you have any thoughts or takes
I have a lot
on
of
that.
thoughts. I mean, so I know some of the original founders, which is Elon was not one of the original founders of the company that became Neuralink. He came in and he definitely shifted the game for them in a lot of ways. And I'm not going to say like the concept is the first innovation in invasive brain technology in decades, very frankly. Everything to then has been sticking a rod in the brain or sticking a panel array in the brain, which both of them were incredibly crude. So on that vertical, it is an incredible advancement of technology. I am never a big fan of invasive technologies, personally, because there's always a very high risk profile. And a lot of times, especially right now, decently low efficacy. The direction that Neuralink wants to go is admirable, but this goes across the board for invasive technology. And this is an opinion, by the way, of an engineer, not a research scientist. But the opinion is that the brain is a very fragile thing. There's a reason why we went away from working with it even non-invasively. And any invasive intervention with the brain can have devastating consequences if it's not done right. So that is my measured opinion. Very promising. An actual innovation in the invasive space, which has been decades since the last one. High risk, at least for now. And they're working to try to decrease that, but that's going to be the case likely for a very long time.
Yeah. It's interesting. I don't have any personal experience with it. I feel like I've seen some posts on X about it, and it seems like an amazing technology to come. But I think what research scientists like you are doing is finding lower risk, high reward stimulation pieces that it's like, I think it's very clever of you to have realized, okay, what if we just tweak this little thing downstream of, or rather upstream of what we want, of the effect that we want to have. I think that kind of creative thinking is extremely admirable. I think it's cool.
Thank you. There's a lot of what I would call lower hanging fruit than full brain computer interfaces.
Yeah.
But I also understand the appeal of leapfrogging. And there's a lot of attempts for that right now. Neuralink is one of them. And before Neuralink and before a lot of these technologies, this field was not receiving nearly enough attention. Because if we want to remain relevant as time goes on, it's important for us to get access to higher bandwidth. But that could be another 2 hours if you guys really wanted it to be. We could talk about that in detail.
Okay, well, in closing, before we get to our... Oh, you have some
Well, I have a question. What is the price point on the Zen Bud?
I don't know what the price point of the Neuralink is,
Yeah,
but
sorry.
the price point of the Zen Bud is $459 MSRP. That will be the Series 2.
And that Series 2 comes out when?
In the next week.
The next week. Exciting. So here we are mid-May. By end of May, it should be available on your website, which is?
Zenbud.health. That's ZENBUD.health.
Okay, .health.
And not available on Amazon, only available through you, correct?
We might have we have an Amazon listing right now for the Series 1. We're still working on updating that for the Series 2.
Got it.
The website
What do you get with the Series 2 that the Series 1 doesn't offer?
So the Series 1 is what I love to call a lovely MVP, or a minimum viable product.
Right.
It did the ultrasound stimulation. You had a buzzing noise. It was right side only. And it looked like a Sony Walkman. So the Series 2 is something you can listen to music on. It does bimodal stimulation, so both sides.
It's more like a
We've
Cadillac.
innovated on our silicone pad technology to remove the need for gel.
Oh, cool.
And Yes. So you no longer have to use ultrasound gel. You had to with the Series 1.
Yeah.
And frankly, it's a more comfortable experience and it looks more premium.
Yeah.
I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but it matters for when you're using it out in public, which we want to give people that option.
Yeah. And like I see people walking around all the time with headphones on these days. It's kind of like in vogue. So, you'll fit right in. Only you'll just be a lot more chill.
Yeah.
All right, so this question, I wrote this down earlier. Ashley, this might be part of your lyrical wizard that we need on this. What happens in Vegas, VAGAS? Finish that statement. What happens in Vegas?
Just not stay in VAGUS.
Yeah, VAGUS.
Oh, I spelled it wrong. Yeah,
I was wondering. He said VAGAS.
I'm sorry, everybody.
I think
You're
there's
right.
a U in there.
You could say vagal.
Vagal nerve stimulation.
Vagal nerve stimulation or Vegas. I mean, the academia debates that all the time. So
we're going to have to edit all this out, Corey. This is just a real problem that I created for us. Fix it in post, please.
The vagus nerve is like it seems like maybe the most important nerve. Like it literally it's a protector. It's the make sure everything is safe and repairing, and that's what the parasympathetic nervous system does. It repairs. It's the body's innate ability to repair. And if the vagus nerve isn't stimulated or working properly, then that function can't happen.
100%. I'll probably, if you don't mind, I might take that at some point.
Yeah,
because that's a great explanation of it.
So it's this bit is, we should definitely kill this from the podcast. But what happens?
Whatever.
In
I mean,
Vegas,
people love authenticity. There we go.
All right, we're keeping
this is
it
authentic right here.
If you have any ideas on how to finish this statement, what happens in Vegas, VAGUS, please write in the
Rock
notes.
Bottom Podcast.
What happens in Vegas is staying in your nervous system.
Yeah,
There you go.
That's the nerdy answer.
All
There
right,
you go.
mic drop. That's it.
All right. So one of the questions that we love to ask all of our guests is, on a scale of 1 to 10, when you were at your rock bottom moment, when you were 11 years old, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rank that? 1 being the worst, 10 being the best.
That was one for me.
Yeah.
I mean, there was I'm glad I made it through that period.
Good. Well, we are glad that you did too. And the follow-up question is, on a scale of 1 to 10 now, how are you generally feeling most days?
I'm running a startup business, Patrick.
I know, with a lot of life stuff happening, by the way. But in terms of your health and your OCD, like that whole...
The OCD side has gone a ton better. I mean, at this point, I would consider myself at least close to full remission there.
That's awesome.
But it's not like I still don't deal with a lot of stress. Again, it's ironic. Lovely, I have a tool that helps with that. But I would say like a 5 or a 6 on a consistent basis. And I expect that to continue to increase over time.
Good.
Well, necessity is the mother of all inventions.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is.
And that's where all the best innovation in the world comes from, is from someone that had an experience and had a need that couldn't be filled and figured out a way to do it. So props to you. So much respect for what you're doing. And I can't wait to get my hands on the Generation 2 with no gel needed.
Final question for you, John. If you were to write a book, what would the name of that book be?
Your brain has been hacked.
Ooh.
Because my last name is Hacker.
I like it.
That's really good. You've thought about this before, haven't you?
I might have a draft. We'll just say that.
Okay, well, we will be standing by. I can't wait for a potential of that coming out. That was a good little nugget to place out there.
I love it.
Well, thank you so much, John. This has been a pleasure, and we look forward to continuing to follow you and just to see what you're up to. Super interesting stuff. We will definitely tag your socials in the comments, and we look forward to maybe a part 2.
Everybody, end of May, go check out zenbud.health. Get yourself a series 2.
This episode of the Rock Bottom Podcast is brought to you by Jigsaw Health, a family-owned, Arizona-based nutritional supplement company. Every formula is made with clean ingredients that are third-party tested to ensure that what's on the label is in the bottle and nothing else. Learn more at jigsawhealth.com.
Do you have a health horror story? We're always looking for stories that will inspire others, so please use the link in the description to apply to be on our show. Finally, if this episode resonated with you, then please like and subscribe. It really helps others to find our show, and we want to help spread the word. New episodes drop every other Wednesday, so thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next show.